So I thought it'd be fun to try out some Chris Adler, Lamb of God style drum tones. So yeah, I just want to walk you through the setup and yeah, show you some of the sounds I came up with. I'm using my Tama Superstar Hyperdrive kit. I've got a 22 by 20 kick, a 12 by 7 rack tom and a 16 by 14 floor tom. So yeah, I've been using this kit for about 9 years now. Coming up to 10 years, yeah. And it's it's a workhorse. It's a beast of a kit. Out of the box, yeah, this kit has got a lot of punch, a lot of attack. So it's perfect for, metal tones and stuff like that. So here's the real signature part. It's my little Sonar Special Edition 12-inch snare, so it's a 12 by 5.75 snare, so it's a specific size, but it is a beast of a snare. A cheap snare, I got it for 60 quid. I can't really find it online these days, but I think it's discontinued, but definitely keep a lookout for it. So it's a Sonar Special Edition steel snare. So I was shocked at the tones I pulled out of this thing. And I really think the key to this Lamb of God snare sound is the size of the drum. So I think Chris uses a 12 by 5.5 or something like that. But yeah, the 12-inch snare just has that cut you need to get that Chris Adler snare sound. And yeah, on the toms, we've got Power Stroke 4s clear, which are great because they give you a great controlled sound to the toms and a great slap, so that's perfect. And then the kick, I got a coated P3 with my wood beaters, and it's tuned super low, which I'll show you now. It's tuned really low for maximum slap. Alright, so moving on to cymbals. I got my trusty HHX Evolution hats. I got a 10-inch AAX Splash, a 20-inch Bosporus Crash. Now I would play a smaller crash, going for the Lamb of God sound, but I've cracked my smaller crashes, which is a bit of a bummer, but is what it is. I have my 20-inch Evolution ride. Again, this ride is definitely not heavy enough for Lamb of God, but the big bell means that you can just about get away with it. Preferably a heavier ride would be a lot better for this sound, but yeah, I think I got away with it. And over here, I got my 18-inch XS20 medium tin crash. And this is actually, for an intermediate cymbal, it's just a great cymbal, and I was really happy with the tone I got out of this. It just suited the style. I clamped it down quite tight. I normally let my cymbals really ring out, but this seemed to just work to give me that tight crash sound. And lastly, I got a 19-inch AAX Extreme China, my favourite China cymbal. So I used only 8 mics on the kit, which isn't ideal for this sound, but I think you can get away with it with some tricks. So first of all, I got a room mic. So I've got my MXL V67 here and kind of pointed at the shells of the kit. This is just kind of glue everything together. Not high in the mix, but just in there enough to kind of bring the whole sound together. And overheads, I got these cheap and cheerful Behringer C2 mics, which actually, to be honest with you, sound really good. So I've got this pointed down at the crash and the splash, so I'm trying to isolate stuff here. So the small diaphragm condensers work really well in isolating stuff because we want a really tight sound. Over here, I've got it pointed at this crash, and this is mainly for this crash and this crash only. It really actually sounded great because I pretty much could isolate this crash in the mix, which gave me a tighter sound. It's not a sound I usually go for, but for this, it worked really well. And yeah, let's get into the close mics. So I've got my trusty Audix D6 on the kick. So I've got an SM57 on the rack tom and the snare, as well as close mic in the hats. So when I started testing out tones, I realised that you really need to isolate the hats for this sound. So I think when they were recording this, they tracked cymbals and shells separately. So there's a really isolated sound, and then there's a lot of post-production gone into it. But I wanted to do it live with no samples, and yeah, with just a pretty minimal mic setup. Okay, so this on the floor tom, I have my D112, which I recently got at Christmas time. This is a sick mic. Great on a floor tom, a kick. Yeah, it's just awesome. So here I have this crash isolated, but it's not really picking up the ride and the china in an articulate way like I would like. So what I actually done was, because this mic is pretty close, I duplicated it, and yeah, I just put it in the mix when the ride bell comes in or the china accents come in. Sucked out the low end so that you just hear the high end. And yeah, it actually worked as a spot mic for my china and my ride, because a lot of people actually will place a mic under the cymbal. So yeah, I was actually surprised with that. So that's a kind of little hack for you if you don't have that many mics but you want to get a really isolated sound. So I had loads of fun with this, and I found it quite inspirational, because you find yourself getting into habits where you'll kind of go, okay, I'll throw the mics up and I'll, EQ the snare or EQ things the way I want it. But what I actually found here was it goes back to basics. You have the right sound at the source, it will sound the way you want. So had the cranked up 12-inch snare, it sounded like Lamb of God, Had the D6 on the kick and the loose tuned bass drum, sounds slappy. Sounds like a metal kick drum, you know what I mean? And then it's like, I want to isolate the cymbals. Okay, how can I do that with my existing mic? So, using the floor tom mic as a cymbal spot mic, trying to isolate the cymbals, having the hat mic, stuff like that. It helped me create the sound with mic placement. So, yeah. Sound at the source and mic placement. It's true what people say. It actually does work. Because sometimes when you're getting tones and things aren't working, you're kind of saying to yourself, all right, yeah, it's just like a dark art, and it's just like, oh, well, drums only sound a certain way if you have all these mad plugins and you have years and years of experience mixing. But again, it goes back to the old school. You get the sound at the source, and it will sound the way you want. So yeah, it's been encouraging for me, and hopefully you've enjoyed this video. So yeah, cheers guys.